Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. I hope you are dry wherever you are. It is pouring rain in the Midwest. I have a lake forming in my backyard right behind me. But wherever you are, we are live on the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. My usual partners in crime on Friday, Bill, Anthony, Durst is on vacation. We have Taylor guest appearing and filling in. We've got 5 really good quarterbacks for you. We've got Drew Allar from Penn State. We've got Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. We have Nico Iamaleava. I almost did that, from UCLA. Wow, I almost messed that one up. And then Behran Morton, and he is from
Texas Tech.
Thank you, Texas Tech. I was looking on the cheat sheet there. And then we're going to finish with Aiden Chiles from Michigan State. Yeah. But before we do that, Anthony, it's Friday. How are things?
Oh, things are good. Things are good. I don't know if it's just a Long Island thing. I didn't get all this rain that you're talking about, but we've been dry and kind of hot, and kind of hot is how I would describe the 5 quarterbacks that we're going to talk about tonight. So it's going to be an entertaining show nonetheless.
So did any of these quarterbacks launch I want to watch an offensive tackle?
No, you know what? I all five of them kept me thoroughly entertained. So some of them I watched like weeks ago, and then today I watched Nico and Behran. But yeah, all 5 of them have some interesting positives about them, enough to not force me to watch offensive tackles.
Taylor, it is your first appearance on a Draft Professor podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on here. I'm kind of new to this process, so this is like my first, draft really getting into the cycle this early. So I'm excited to do that. So these are I looked at some quarterbacks already, and then when you reached out about these guys, I was like, yep, I've looked at a couple of these guys. Let me come on here and talk about it a little bit. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay. Bill Sparks, would you rather talk about why joint practices are more common, or you want to talk about the quarterbacks?
I want to talk about these quarterbacks because there's some guys here tonight that, it might drive me up a wall. And then there's some guys here tonight that, I'm going to start a QB1 agenda for if I haven't already. But I think we just got to go ahead and we got to dive right in. We got to talk about Drew Allar from Penn State. And Taylor, since you are our guest of honor this evening, you want to kick us off with Drew Allar from Penn State?
Yeah, let's do it. Lot to like with Drew Allar, right? His ideal arm strength, size, he kind of flows well in his blitz recognition. I think he processes quickly in a clean pocket. Obviously that can break down at times. But I think he throws it so effortlessly that sometimes he can lose a little bit of concentration and that ball can sail at times. I've noticed, but he has good touch on deep balls, and he's really, really good at driving the ball up the seam. He resets his feet well when he recognizes the blitz. Sometimes he gets a little caught off guard and his footwork can kind of go elsewhere, but he doesn't throw on the run well. He's not that athletic. He definitely needs to improve his ball placement. He wasn't great against Notre Dame in the semifinals. He was not great versus elite competition. I think that's going to be the narrative of him going into this season, right? He hasn't really performed against some of those top tier teams in the Big Ten. But he had a 2.1% turnover-worthy play rate, but he had 21 big-time throws, which, we'll talk about some other guys later, but that's quite a bit more than a lot of the guys we're going to talk about today. And then, like I said, I talked about the seam routes. Nobody had more completions, yards, and touchdowns on seam routes in the entire college football. So pretty good up the middle. When he can see it and visualize it, he's really, really good. I think it's when he gets, outside the hashes. I don't think he had very good receivers last year. So hopefully that's a little bit better for him this year. But in turnover-worthy play rate, as I mentioned, he is top 20 in back-to-back years. So, I think if he can, like I said, if he can see the receivers, it's good. But he's inconsistent in his accuracy despite that low turnover-worthy play rate. Sometimes he misses a little bit of the gimmies. And then I kind of have a comp here. So I'll go into the comp and I'll be interested to see what you guys think about this. Cause like I said, new to this process. I haven't really comped a ton before. I see a lot of Blake Bortles, in his game. And the reason for that, I actually looked at a ton of numbers.
I think you nailed Bill's comp.
Bill likes it.
That is my comp. So as the resident comp king around here, I love it. Continue on. So
I watched the show last Friday and heard you call yourself the comp king. So I came with comps for all these guys. I had to bring it because I knew that I was coming in here. But in terms of Blake Bortles, kind of his season that got him drafted in the first round, right? Bortles had 67% completion percentage. Allar was 66.5, 25-9 touchdown interception for Bortles, 24-8 for Allar. 3,500 yards versus 3,300 yards. Their touchdown percentage was within 0.5%. Interception percentage, same thing. Yards per attempt was within 1, and their passer ratings were 163 and 153. So Bortles was a little bit better there. But the one thing I'll say about Drew Allar is I think we talk about size for quarterbacks all the time. We want this size. He's 6'5", 6'6" guys. I actually looked this up because I was curious. Since 2003, quarterbacks listed at 6'5" that have hit, quote unquote, I would say Byron Leftwich, Carson Palmer, Phillip Rivers, Joe Flacco, Cam Newton, Justin Herbert, and Trevor Lawrence. Okay. Those are the ones that have hit. There's been a ton of other tall quarterbacks, right, that play the game. What I'll say about Drew Allar and what his chance to succeed is really his draft capital. Obviously, he's going to have to play his way into a first round pick. But of those quarterbacks that are 6'5" since 2003, 54% hit rate when they are drafted in the first round, 31% for rounds 1 through 3, and then 45 total quarterbacks 6'5" since 2003, and only 15% hit total. Wow. So I think we talk about size a lot, and it's kind of an interesting study because the game's kind of changed. Like we don't maybe want a 6'5", 6'6" statue quarterback, back there. So I think if he can get first round draft capital, it's pretty likely that he becomes a pretty good NFL quarterback. If not, his numbers drop pretty significantly. But I'll let you go, Bill, since you have the same comp with me. We can just roll it with Bortles back to back.
Yeah, let's roll back to back with Bortles. So verified size for Drew Allar, 6'4", 247, still big, 9 and 5/8 inch hands. He's got elite. Well, I won't say elite, like a step down from elite when we talk arm talent. He can drive the ball to all levels of the field. It's not an issue for him. Has really good understanding of time and touch when he's in the red zone. Inside the red zone, he's got the light just clicks on for him. And he's got a really natural feel for being able to extend plays while keeping his eyes downfield. It's almost like Josh Allen at Wyoming-esque. The concerns, though, is his mechanics. They break down under duress, and they need to be torn down from the bottom up. And what concerns me the most about that is he has had private quarterback coaching since 9th grade, and his mechanics are still the way they are at this point in time. Those mechanics are causing him to have passes sail, throw passes in harm's way. You talked about the turnover-worthy plays. You see it in those mechanics. For me right now, I've got him inside my top 100. He's my 90th overall player, my quarterback 10, probably a second, third round grade guy because he's got the arm talent. He's got the size. He's got a little bit of athleticism, but the mechanics and the accuracy are just so concerning, just like we talked about with Blake Bortles. Big guy, big arm, athletic, but mechanics and accuracy eventually did him in Jacksonville. And for me, I'm even more concerned about him than some of the other guys we're going to talk about tonight, because you look at this wide receiver core at Penn State, it's not heavy hitters. It's not like Clemson's got, it's not like Texas. It's not like Ohio State. Probably Traber Pena is probably the best one, maybe Kyron Hudson, depending on how you feel about that. But he's going to have to elevate these guys to that next level. And there's no Tyler Warren here anymore to help bail him out. And that's my biggest concern for him. I'm with you. I think if he plays his way into first round consideration, we're talking about a guy who could be really good. But at the same time, right now in his current state with the mechanics and the accuracy issues, I just don't see a way he gets there unless somebody absolutely falls in love with the cannon strapped to his shoulder. Anthony, what do you have on Allar, the Penn State product?
Yeah, so I think for as high as Drew Haller is on my board right now, this is going to sound probably really negative. I think you guys are absolutely right. Checks every box in terms of size, physical traits, arm talent. He can make any throw at any part of the field. He has that ability. I think an underrated part of his game is the fact that he had a new offensive coordinator this past season in Kodolnicki, and was able to navigate his offense, I think, pretty well, and showed that improvement compared to 2023. I think it feels like Drew Allar in his 2 years as a starter has yet to have like that defining moment. Like these big games that he's had, and he's had a lot. He plays in the Big Ten. Penn State went far in the playoff. Like he just still hasn't had that moment where you're like, oh, that's it. That's the guy that's going to be drafted first round. He played against Notre Dame, 0 touchdowns. Against Ohio State, 0 touchdowns. Against Oregon, I think he had like 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions. Boise State was like his only good playoff game, and no disrespect to Boise State, but it's Boise State. So, like, he just doesn't.
But no disrespect.
Yeah, listen. If we're ranking, defenses that he's faced, Boise State's probably not top 3, probably not even top 5. Even though it was in the playoff, but it feels like this is the year he has to get the job done, and that doesn't necessarily mean win a national title. That just means like I need to see him in these big games have the big moments that elite NFL quarterback prospects have. Bill, you mentioned his mechanics. There are just some bad throws on his tape. His accuracy, I think, just falls away when he gets outside the pocket, and it looks like a completely different quarterback than the one you see standing in the pocket, slinging it across the field. I'm very concerned, as you said, losing Tyler Warren, and I don't think his receiving core and his weapons in general are going to be great. But at the same time, this is now your 3rd year. I think the offensive line is really good for what it's worth too, so that'll help. But he needs to be the guy to elevate an offense that's maybe not so great, by itself. But if he's going to be that quarterback that gets taken in the top 10, because I do believe that if he was in this draft, this past draft, which was very possible, he probably would have been the second quarterback taken off the board. I don't think he challenges Cam Ward for that first overall spot. I think Cleveland is a very, very likely destination for him. Yep. If not in that top 5, maybe that's the guy they would have, tried to trade back in the first round for. Maybe he fills the Jackson Dart spot that ultimately, going to the Giants at 20, whatever it was. But like Drew Allar likely is the second quarterback taken off the board. But if he were to be, and if he had gone in the first round, we would be asking these questions. Is he going to be able to step up and deliver? And we'd probably even be saying he should sit a year and, behind some veteran or something. So now that he's entering this final year at Penn State, hopefully he can take that next step at the collegiate level to show that he's ready to handle the NFL game.
So, Anthony, I think you hit on a point that needs to be stated frequently, and that's elevate the play of the players around you. Because when we did Carson Beck last night as part of the Miami show, that's the huge knock on Carson Beck, right? Like between Allar and Beck, as far as their mechanics and size, how close are they, Bill?
They're pretty close mechanical wise. Beck's mechanics are a little bit cleaner, and Allar's size is a little bit larger, but the basic functionality is there. They both have decent mechanics when everything's clear, but when the bullets start to fly, everything goes out of a 12-story window for both of them.
Right, and that's kind of where I'm going. Is that if we see the mechanics of Beck versus Allar, right? Because as I'm listening to you guys on the quarterbacks, that was my impression of Beck. Has the mechanics but can't play in the big game. So we're saying Allar has to elevate.
Yep.
Right? Like there is a thing there, I think, with him, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think one point too. I think I noticed this when I was actually looking at Nico, but I'm not jumping to that. But it's the same point for Allar here. When he went back to school, right? People forget, like, Justin Herbert had that same decision, right? He could have been a first-round pick, could have been. I mean, Kyler Murray was going to go 1 that year, right? Like, off of his. And so Justin Herbert probably would have went 2 because Daniel Jones went 6 and Dwayne Haskins went 15. I'm pretty sure Justin Herbert as a junior was way better than both of those quarterbacks. I think Drew Allar is probably a better quarterback than Jackson Dart. Probably same point. I think, Anthony, you said probably replace that point in the first round. I think it's pretty similar in terms of where he's at. So going back to school, getting another year, I mean, it didn't really help. It actually didn't help Herbert's draft stock at all. I mean, he still got drafted like, 6th? So that's not really helping the draft stock. But I think even Herbert would probably tell you that was really big for his development. And I think it, gave him another year to learn and then get into the NFL, even though it was a year later. So I think, I think it's a good step for Drew Allar. And I think he also, one guy you missed on the, he has a new guy on the roster, Devontae Ross, who put up 1,000 yards at Troy last year. So hopefully he can translate that to P4 level competition. But yeah, I think it's going to be an uphill battle, but I think he has, the size, tools to, to get into the first round for sure.
Yeah, so I think one other point that I'd like to make is 4 of the 5 quarterbacks that we're covering here, we have covered. This is not the first podcast that we've covered. So way back in June, we did a Penn State podcast. So if you want to get 3 more opinions on Drew Allar, you can go back and watch the Penn State show. The next quarterback we're doing, we actually covered on Tuesday, and that's Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. Anthony, you want to kick that one off?
Yeah, so it's funny we're going to Sam Leavitt next because I think he's pretty much the complete opposite of Drew Allar, like in so many different ways. So Sam Leavitt he's actually only a redshirt sophomore entering this season for the Sun Devils, and so keep in mind when you're watching him, if you haven't already, for those of you at home watching this. You're watching a redshirt freshman do some pretty crazy stuff for Arizona State and obviously eventually leading them to the playoff. He is, I wrote down controlled chaos. So he looks like he's a mess. Like, just when you watch him, like, there's a bunch of like throws off his back foot and, he's running around making off-platform throws to like opposite sides of the field and trying to make these like crazy tight window throws. But like he does it, and he doesn't actually like turn the ball over as much as you might think he does when you watch him play. So that's one of the things I really appreciate about his game is even though he is doing this crazy, almost like Madden-esque stuff, he does actually take care of the ball really well. I think he has moments of just insane ball placement. Again, some of the windows that he fits into with his passes are crazy. Some of the, throwing over defenders, particularly like him and Jordan Tyson have such a connection. You can just tell watching. And if Jordan Tyson hopefully comes back fully healthy and they get a full season together, they could put up very big numbers this coming season for Arizona State. I think he does a really good job of using the RPO really efficiently, not just being able to make a read and make a throw, but he is a very effective scrambler. has pretty solid rushing ability, and is a threat with his legs. He can easily go get you a first down by scrambling. I think where the issues come in is kind of what I've already touched on. He is this controlled chaos, sort of quarterback. So he is very inconsistent when it comes to like setting his feet. I mentioned he throws off his back foot a lot. And while there are plenty of times where he makes these crazy, awesome throws, there are also a lot of times where he does not. And the ball is, it either just like flutters in the air, or, he just completely misses his targets. I think overall his deep ball accuracy isn't great. I would say like subpar is kind of how I would put it. I also think in general, he kind of throws like in the short and intermediate game, he throws a lot of just like rifles. There are times where I want to see more layering, more touch on his passes, particularly in like the intermediate game. Overall, to summarize, as I said, this is a redshirt sophomore that we're talking about. I have him as like a day 2, probably closer to third round than second round guy, but sort of like right on the border. I think this season he could have a great year, building on a lot of success that he had as a redshirt freshman. And I probably would still encourage him to not declare. Give yourself that extra year. I know by that point he would probably lose Jordan Tyson, which wouldn't be great. But you see the pieces of a really fun but also effective NFL quarterback. I think he kind of just needs to like rein in the technique and rein in the mechanics, to be more efficient at the quarterback position, and really master, because again, the tools are there in terms of the athleticism. I think he has a good arm, maybe not an elite arm. I think Ryan's absolutely right. This is a lot of, there's talent, but it needs to be refined. And I don't know if he can refine it. I think he can refine it by the end of the season. I think he can refine it more after 2 years, with the same system and, the same coaching staff and building a rapport with other receivers. So there's a lot to like with Sam Leavitt. But maybe I would say like wait till 2027. But Taylor, if you want to go ahead and jump off of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I am actually, before I started, I agree. 2 more years is what I wrote down. I think he needs a ton of reps, and probably a 2027 guy. But there's a lot to like right now. I think he's really, really good on play action. He has good pocket awareness. Once there's play action, he's really, really quick making decisions off of play action. I noticed that quite a bit, which obviously helps. You have Cam Scatteraboo, so that makes the play action a little easier. So I'll be excited to see that this year. But he looked good doing that. He had clutch performances like at KU. I think he led a drive to win the game in that game. I graduated from Kansas State. I know how hard it is to play in Bill Snyder Family Stadium. He went in there and dominated. I mean, there's multiple NFL defensive backs on K-State's roster. So I thought that was a really good performance. I think he played well versus UCF, and then he battled against Texas, and then played pretty well against Iowa State. And Jordan Tyson was out in both of those games. I think he's super accurate on in-breaking routes, but I agree with your point, Anthony. He throws with a lot of velo over the middle. Like he rips it in there, and I think that'll come with some coaching. You maybe layer that in there a little bit. And I noticed he's really accurate to the corner of the end zone as well, which is a good place to be accurate to. And obviously is a really good receiver in Jordan Tyson. But he does need to improve his footwork, like we talked about. I think he's willing and able to run, but the big thing about him with being willing and able to run is he drops his eyes really soon. Like one read drops his eyes, and then he's like kind of, he does that thing in the pocket where, you're looking for where to go. Which I think is fine. And then I think I talked about this with Drew Allar having 21 big time throws. Sam Leavitt only had 13. So him having a lower turnover worthy play rate is fantastic. I think there's two main reasons for it. The first reason is he doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He doesn't try. He just takes what the defense gives him, which is a positive in a quarterback, right? And then I think the big positive, this is the one major takeaway I wrote with Sam Leavitt, is Jordan Tyson is always open. Like, he is always open. Like, that helps so much. Like, that, it's not going to count as a big time throw if your, wide receiver is creating 3 yards of separation on every play. Like, I mean, Jordan Tyson is really, really good. So I'm excited to watch him be healthy this year. And then the last thing I'll say, and I think this is probably the most important, because you talked about him being, a runner, and he ran for 40 plus yards in 6 games, and he forced 34 missed tackles as a quarterback. Like, that's a really good running quarterback, especially for someone that's not, necessarily a run first quarterback. And I thought over his last 7 games, he had 16 touchdowns and 2 picks. So he really improved throughout the season. Both of those interceptions were against top 20 defenses, and he increased his completion percentage up to 64% over those last 7 games. So my comp, unless you want to go, Bill, and then we can give our comp since we're so aligned.
I'll let you kick it off, and then I'll save mine for last.
Come on, Taylor, Go 2 for 2.
You guys are gonna hate this comp. Everyone watching is gonna hate this comp because it's the same school comp, and I'm gonna go for it. And I know it's risky, and I know it's fine, but I'm a Denver Broncos fan through and through, and I watched this guy so much. He looks like Jake Plummer, and he put up his numbers are Jake Plummer.
You are 2 for 2, Taylor.
I mean, yards
you are Bill's. We can't say evil twin, but you are. Yeah, you and Bill share DNA. I think
we got to make this a drinking game.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But I mean, his numbers are like pass yards per attempt, same yards per game, same rating, about the same touchdown percentage, less than 0.5%. Plummer's actually a little bit higher interception percentage, and Jake Plummer famously has 161 career passing touchdowns and 161 interceptions in the NFL. So, I think Leavitt protects the ball a little bit better, but, he's kind of erratic. I think it's kind of the same thing as Plummer. Like, I just watched Arizona highlights of Jake Plummer, and I'm just like, oh my, it's the same. And it's like carbon copy. They're scrambling around the pocket, making things happen. It's really fun to watch. So I'm excited to watch him develop.
And for the younger people watching the show, and by younger, I mean, Jake Plummer, memory serves me correctly, was probably drafted about 25 years ago, right? Like, because Plummer's been out of the league for close to a decade, hasn't he?
Yeah. It was
96 or 97. I wrote down 1996 for that stat line, so I think the 97 draft then.
That sounds about right, because 96 would have been the year I was supposed to graduate from college.
I think I would have turned 3 that year.
Yep, I would have been 5.
I was born in 1997. So
there we go.
There we go.
Well,
Bill, what do you have on Sam Leavitt?
Yeah, no, Anthony and Taylor hit the nail on the head with Sam Leavitt. The big things that you look at for him is 6'2", 200 pounds flat, which is probably one of my biggest knocks for him. I really want him to add on some functional mass. 200 pounds, and he looks closer to 190, 195. Just getting some mass on that frame so he can handle NFL collisions consistently. He's a magician with ball security. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way, which is crazy considering he's like your favorite coffee shop. You go in on a Monday morning at 7:30 in the morning. There's 19 people in line and one barista working, and they are just killing it, handing out orders and pastries left and right. And you're looking at them, and it's just insanity. But it's like they're in the middle of the eye of the hurricane. That's Sam Leavitt on a football field. When bullets are flying all around him and everything is going crazy, the game has slowed for him, especially as a redshirt freshman. His arm strength, he's hit receivers on 80, 50-yard plus connections. So he's got the arm strength to push the ball down the field. He rarely holds the ball in an unnecessary way. If he sees it, he's throwing it. It's going. Just like Taylor and Anthony have talked about, though, he's a redshirt sophomore. He's got 2 more years at least, unless he gets a graduate transfer and goes in. If he's this good as a redshirt sophomore now, I can only imagine what he'll be with another year under his belt. Like we talked about, Jake Plummer, just an absolute gunslinger, crazy plays on the hair, on fire mentality. I've got him in my top 60 right now as he is because I see that he's a redshirt sophomore and he's doing these things. Would it shock me if he came out this year? Absolutely not. But if I were him, I would say go back to school. And in 2027, you're probably being talked about as a top 10 pick. But yeah, he's a very fun guy to watch. But don't be surprised if you have to make a drinking game out of a few of his plays because you just can't stand it sober anymore because of how chaotic it is.
So, question on the whole redshirt sophomore thing. And I asked this when we covered Leavitt on Tuesday. I'm going to ask this panel too. So, there's a part of me with like the logic of you're at Arizona State, you're at the Big 12, right? That's not a conference known for their defense. So you lead Arizona State to the playoffs. Can your stock get any higher? Really, right? Like if you take Arizona State into a playoff run 2 straight years, should you declare while your stock is high, or do you risk what I'm going to say the Carson Beck decline? Because 2 years ago, if Beck was in the draft, I think he would have gone much higher than he's going to go this year. Like, I think people were higher on Beck 2 years ago than they are now. Do you think he could, like, how much risk is there to staying in school past the 2025 college football season? Bill?
I think if we were talking redshirt junior Sam Leavitt, then yes, there's an inherent risk to going back as a senior. You know, like Taylor talked about with Justin Herbert, he went back and didn't really improve anything. But obviously, there's the Carson Becks of the world that went back and now are getting worse. I think staying at Arizona State is best for him because we don't talk about it enough. Kenny Dillingham is pretty underrated as a recruiter and a play caller. The way he's put talent out there in Tempe should be studied, kind of like the Indianas of the world. So for me, when I look at that and I say, okay, I have Sam Leavitt, he's controlled chaos. It functions best in a controlled environment like Dillingham has. If you move to the SEC or the Big Ten, you now have to learn how to mold your style of play in a conference that's not really built for that style of play. So that's going to hurt your stock immensely. So for me, I would say, regardless of whether his stock can get higher or not, I think him transferring would be worse than him staying in school too long. Anthony, what do you think?
I agree. And I was just going to add, I think because Arizona State didn't beat Texas, like that's the next step. Like if they, and the fact that because they didn't have Jordan Tyson, he was hurt. So they basically went in there with really no chance. And then the game kind of played out that way. But like this year, if they get back to the playoff, God hoping they would have Jordan Tyson, Sam Leavitt with another year of experience and maturity in terms of his game. If they are able to then beat a top SEC team like a Texas, or a Georgia or an Alabama or whoever, then all of a sudden, because I think you're right, Jim. Like the Big 12 overall, the defenses aren't that great. So, that's going to be a criticism, even if Sam Leavitt has this, gaudy season. Oh, well, who did he play? What kind of top defenses did he really go up against? But if he goes in and plays a top SEC defense or a top Big Ten defense or whatever and wins that game, and plays well in a win, even if they then, they could get blown out in the next game. But now, okay, well, you've shown that you can compete with the best teams in college football, the best defenses in college football, and you can play at a high level. From there, if that happens and then he stays, now I think you're talking about risking that sort of setback that you're alluding to. I don't think he's risking it right now. I don't think he would. But if he has an even more unbelievable season and then tries to improve his stock, then I think it's a problem. But I don't think it's a problem right now.
And that's the scenario I have in my head, right? Where he leads Arizona State to the playoffs and he is playing at a level higher than he did last season. Now, there's really at least three ways this could play out. He could stay at Arizona State. He could transfer to an SEC or Big Ten school, or he could declare for the draft. So if he has that performance against an SEC school in the playoffs, is it best for him to stay at Arizona State, transfer to a school playing in a more competitive conference, or go to the NFL? And which one helps his stock? Because if he transfers to an SEC school and doesn't play as well, my opinion is that would hurt his stock.
Yeah, I don't see the benefit of transferring. I think that's the worst option of the three.
Yeah, I agree. I think, a couple of things. I think the first point about top 25 defenses or top defense in the Big 12, I just looked it up, 2 in the top 25, but there's 8 between 25 and 50. So he's playing those mid-range defense. I agree. I think transferring would be the worst part. I'm going to take a bit of a cop-out answer here. Not really, but there are so many moving pieces for the season to happen. I don't even think he could have the exact same season he had last year. Go to the playoff, compete, his butt off against Texas, right? In the playoff. He battled that entire game. He looked you didn't look great, but he battled through a close game. It all hinges on a couple players. To me, I think Klubnik and Nussmeier are probably the two you're looking at the top of this class, right? Mm-hmm. Who's QB3? Is it Drew Allar? Is it Lenoris Sellers? What if Lenoris Sellers goes 6-6? What if Drew Allar goes 8-4? And nobody has grasped that QB3 job or that QB3 spot. If Leavitt goes out there, he could take it. And then if he takes the QB3 spot and that ends up being a fringe first round pick, a Jackson Dart situation, I think you go to the NFL, right? It's not worth it to come back. You're losing Jordan Tyson, most likely, who will also be in the NFL. So you're going to lose your top guy on that receiver anyway. So I think, it depends on what happens this season. A lot of it does. But I think Leavitt has the opportunity to, take that QB3 spot. And then, he could potentially be drafted in the first round or the second round even and potentially go out. So.
Okay. Well, let's talk about our next quarterback, and that is UCLA quarterback Nico
Iamaleava. I butchered it too. Anthony's our resident
Go
specialist.
ahead, Anthony.
I became the expert today when I heard him say it. Nico Iamaleava.
There you go. So Anthony, go ahead and kick it off.
Great. So Nico's very interesting. This is a former 5-star high school prospect, highly touted. I believe he was Polynesian Player of the Year. He goes to Tennessee, redshirts, and then similar to Sam Leavitt, gets the start as a redshirt freshman for the Vols, and he shows why he was so highly touted, but also shows that he needs a lot of work to develop into a top college quarterback and then eventually a top NFL quarterback. You see the flashes of so first he checks pretty much every box physically. He is 6'6", 215 pounds, very athletic, very mobile in the pocket, and is also able to scramble and get out as a rusher and create yardage there. Strong arm, puts good velocity on his passes. Usually has a very beautiful deep ball. He has 17 big time throws on deep passes, which are counted as 20 yards or more. So there are moments where you see the big arm, the size, the athleticism, and it is just he just screams future number 1 overall pick. Then you keep watching and you see he way too often loses his base. His footwork gets really sloppy. His processing can get very overwhelmed very easily, and that basically forces him into taking bad sacks, too many sacks. Kind of like you'll see, like he literally runs himself into pressure sometimes. He just doesn't have those pocket navigation skills that you want. And yes, again, keep in mind, he's a redshirt freshman, based on what I'm saying here. So like, there's obviously room to grow and room to improve. But these are all just, things you expect of a freshman starting for the first time, especially in the SEC, no less. When it comes to this whole, I don't even know what you want to call it, the fiasco,
NIL fiasco,
issue, whatever it was, yeah, like it's weird to me. It's just weird, and that's not me. Like, I'm not necessarily counting it as a negative towards him, because it to me didn't feel like he was the one pushing the issue. It felt more like his family or outside voices were kind of like, trying to get him out, and and now he winds up at UCLA, and we'll see how he does there as their presumed starter. But it just, the whole situation just felt messy. I don't think when the day comes when he declares for the NFL draft, I do think it's going to sit in the back of the back of minds of, NFL personnel. I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have, and I'm just assuming like this is going to be a one-off and we're not really going to see any sort of problem with this again in his collegiate career. But it does feel like a sort of stain that's kind of always just going to be there, even if it's not super prominent. But I think the lowdown is, again, big arm, great athlete, all of the raw tools to be like a future top 5 pick, but everything else in terms of his football IQ and his mechanics and his consistency and his ability to navigate the pocket are just like so raw and so bottom tier right now. Like whereas Sam Leavitt is like, maybe he could declare, but probably should stay 2 years. Nico is like, at this point, needs to stay 2 years. Like, I don't even think it's a conversation that he would declare unless like some massive leap happens this year, which I wouldn't bet on. So I think he's very raw, but the tools are absolutely there. But Bill, if you want to go ahead and add on to that.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. 6'6", 215, big, tall, big arm, just the howitzer. It generates torque from different arm angles and different release points. It has exceptional mobility for a guy that's 6'6". Typically when you're 6'6", you can take longer strides, but it doesn't always look as fluid. He still looks fluid with it. His release is lightning quick, and it borders on scary how quick he gets it, especially in like an RPO concept. He sees it, he's ripping it. There is no delay. The concerns I have is obviously at 215 pounds at 6'6". That's a pretty lean frame. We talked about it with Sam Leavitt. We got to talk about it with Nico. In addition to that, his footwork becomes really inconsistent, especially when you drive him to the left. If you get pressure on him and force him to the left, the mechanics are out the window. The release is all out of whack. Balls sail, balls skip. It looks rough. He is still learning how to manipulate defenses with his eyes. He telegraphs and locks onto his first reads pretty frequently. For what it is worth, I think the move from Tennessee is a good move for him because that Tennessee offense is not translatable in any way, shape, form, or any current path. So to get him out of there, granted, he's going to UCLA where they run a lot more spread concepts and they kind of open things up into Sean Foster's offense. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of a throw the ball around the yard type of scenario. But his has more pro style concepts where he has to turn his back to the defense a little bit. And Tennessee is just a straight veer and shoot style of offense. For me, I have Nico as my QB7. So I have Leavitt at 6. Nico is right there at QB7. Again, also saying, hey, if you end up in the top 32, come on out. But if not, go ahead and go back to school. Because I'm with you, Anthony. He'll get asked about the whole situation, but I think it's more outside external factors that kind of cause that issue. And Taylor, before I turn it over to you, I'm going to give you my comp. We're going to see if we can go 3 for 3 here. My comp,
I actually didn't comp Nico. He's the only guy I didn't comp.
You
because
did?
I don't think there's enough. I think that, to your point, throw all that tape out from the Tennessee offense almost exclusively. Unless he's running the ball, throw the tape out.
No, Taylor, you just wanted to keep your perfect streak. That's why.
I'll tell you what. I think he's on a trajectory of a player potentially, but yeah, Go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
No, you're good. I can't wait to see what this trajectory is. But for me,
hold on. We had one in the chat. Hold on a minute. Where is it? Okay, so Steve had one. Is it Justin Herbert?
Are people looking at my board again? Is that what's happening here?
I wish you could read that. It says Justin Herbert trajectory. I wish I was kidding. I wish I just wrote that down, but I did not.
No, but you actually said that, I think, like a few minutes ago. I thought I heard somebody say something about Justin Herbert. But maybe it was in the chat. Maybe I read it in the chat and I thought Taylor said it. So.
He's Justin Herbert before you put Justin Herbert in the oven to bake at 350. He's an unfinished product, just like Taylor said. Yeah. I'm not advocating to put Justin Herbert in an oven, people. It's a euphemism, okay? But yeah, that's where he can go. I think he can eventually develop into a Justin Herbert. I also think he could have developed into a strong-armed version of Kenny Pickett. He's got 2 career paths that he can take here. And I think him going to UCLA is a great fit. But Taylor, what do you have on Nico?
Yeah,
I'm going to try it.
I kind of did my notes. I just have blue as positive things and red as negative things. I put totally new offense at UCLA in blue, bright blue as you can get. The grass is greener on the other side of this whole debacle. I think, at least for his NFL trajectory, right? Like, I don't think anyone in that Tennessee quarterback, I don't know if that's ever going to translate right to the NFL. So it's tough. It's tough to take a lot away from that. I think maybe Anthony mentioned his big time throws on deep balls. And it's like, yeah, it's really, really good. He has great touch on his deep balls. I think it's one of the best things that he does is he has a tremendous arm, but not only that, he throws really catchable balls on deep balls, which I think is important. That being said, and this is kind of my biggest thing for him going to UCLA, it's going to be the Nico show, and it has to be the Nico show. He has to improve. It has to be kind of like what, I think trajectory-wise, he is on that kind of Justin Herbert, but 2 years away from being like Justin Herbert entering the draft. So I think it's like all the tools there. He even looks like him when he runs. I noticed. I put Herbert plus level athleticism. Like, he has that ability to like squeeze out of the pocket, but then he's like deceptively fast. And he's more athletic than Justin Herbert. That's not even a question. But I think he needs 2 years. I mean, what I saw against Bama, he overthrew 4 touchdowns in that game, 2 in the first quarter and 2 in the fourth quarter. So while he does have that deep ball accuracy and touch, he does overthrow at some times. But I think that entire offense is just one read and go, right? If Dante Thornton is wide open 25 yards downfield on a post, then he's going to throw that one read. I think, Bill, you mentioned about the RPO, how quickly he gets it out. If he sees it, if he visualizes it, and it's right there in front of him, one read, he is, I don't want to say perfect, but borderline. Like, he's right there every time. It's really, really good. The biggest things for me, like I said, it's going to be the Nico show, and he has to get better versus pressure. His sack/interception rate versus pressure is 31%, which is in the bottom 20th percentile. So That's not something that you want to do. And again, it's one read. So when things do break down in that Bama game as well, they're going in. I think they were down maybe 7 or 10 at the time. They're in the red zone, and he just completely missed his first read, or the first read wasn't there. And then he was rolling left. So to your point, Bill, about him rolling left, he tries to force the ball into the end zone, and it gets picked off, taken the other way. Completely changed the trajectory of that game because they were competing, with Bama for a while. And then so they're just him forcing it when things break down. So that was kind of a knock on him. Inconsistent accuracy, kind of like what you talked about, the footwork, things like that. He misses some gimme throws. And then the biggest thing when he's running, as elite of an athlete is, I know you talked about slim frame and all, he has to protect himself better. He gets drilled so many times. Like I don't know if he's just trying to get more yards or just get further, but he takes some heavy shots. A lot of the times, rather than just getting down, living to see the next play, protecting your body. And I think Herbert, for what it's worth, did that a lot too at Oregon. Might even still do it a lot in the NFL, honestly. Like he likes to, create contact when he's running the ball. So the biggest thing for me with Nico is this upcoming season at UCLA. Dylan Sampson by himself last year, this stat, 1,634 yards and 22 touchdowns by himself. That's not counting Dante Thornton and Brew McCoy, who would also been in the NFL if he didn't have to medically retire. So 2 NFL, basically wide receivers and an NFL running back that put up 1,600 yards. These are his skill position players for 2025. Quasi Gilmer, Titus Mukayo Atamala, Mikey Matthews, Jaden Wilson, and Javion Thomas. Those 5 players, that's 4 wide receivers and 1 running back, they did not have 1,500 yards combined last year. So his weapons are, it's different. It's going to be different. We're going to have to see a lot of improvement because it's going to be a lot of him. So he's spread, I think you mentioned the spread offense kind of up there or out there in LA. So if he's the one dealing, he can get the most out of those, 5 guys that have, I think the most any of one of those guys had in a single season was the running back. I think he had like 600 yards. And Quasi Gilmer had 345 as a freshman last year, something like that. So you're not getting a whole lot, or at least you haven't got a whole lot out of that crew. So if Nico can, get the most out of those guys, I think he's gonna, just jump up the boards and ride. Because the traits are I just wrote down like insanely rare traits: size, speed, arm talent. Like you just can't teach that.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, that was really well done on Nico. So we have 2 more quarterbacks to go. The next one is Behran Morton from Texas Tech, right?
Yes, sir.
So Taylor, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So, he has good arm strength, but not elite. I know he's dealing with a shoulder injury, right? So hopefully he's healthy from that, and that is going to increase that velocity. Because I think his freshman year, he was making some crazy throws, which is big time. Yeah, he throws a nice ball downfield. I think he crushed inferior competition, which really inflated his stats. 651 yards and 9 touchdowns versus Abilene Christian and North Texas combined in those games. So we kind of talked about the Big 12 defenses, and like he didn't most of his yards, or a lot of his yards were put up in those 2 games that were not in the Big 12. He had 8 games with 40 or more passes, only 2 games under 29 passes. So he's throwing the ball quite a bit. But he does hang in there. He delivers strikes while he's being hit, and he takes care of the ball in the red zone. He's top 20 in the nation in red zone percentage. He did have 5 interceptions in his last 4 games, and he had 1 in each game. So that's kind of a knock him down the stretch. Like I said, a third of his total touchdowns and 20% of his passing yards came in those 2 games against non-Big 12 competition. But some things like he had less than 10 interceptions each of the last 2 years. He has solid mechanics, above average accuracy, in my opinion. I think he's really tough, battling through that shoulder injury, being able to play through that. I think everything I've heard, I just somehow stumbled upon a YouTube Texas Tech podcast. I was listening to that a little bit, and it's just like all the guys love him. He's a great leader, which I think you can't teach that either. This will technically be his first season being fully healthy, and it's going to be a really fun one with Texas State's 30-year-old offensive coordinator, whose name I forgot. Mark Leftwich, who 2 seasons in total offense with Texas State, 450 yards of total offense in each season, 36.7 points per game in 2024 at Texas State. And he helped Texas State to its first ever bowl win. So he gets a new offensive coordinator that comes in, and comes in and he's going to be able to play with Mark Leftwich as well, who's a former quarterback. So I think that's going to help his development a ton. And then the last thing I'll say here is he is replacing Taj Brooks, who ran for 1,500 yards each of the last 2 seasons. I think what I wrote down, he is going to need to throw for about 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns to really solidify his draft capital. I think because of the offensive change, right? Like that offense is putting up 450 yards a game. Like he should be able to hit that high 3, low 4 in terms of passing yards. So for what I have for a comp here, I think you guys are gonna like this. But outside of Oklahoma, Big 12 quarterbacks since 2013, you have Patrick Mahomes, Geno Smith, and Brock Purdy. So that's about it. Brock Purdy's a 7th rounder, Geno Smith, 2nd rounder. Mahomes obviously came on super late. The other ones since 2013 that have been, relevant. So Shedeur Sanders, Max Dugan, Skylar Thompson, Sam Ellinger, Will Greer, Mason Rudolph, Bryce Petty, Landry Jones. My fear is he falls into one of those categories as opposed to pushing up higher than that. So I think that's kind of the level of Big 12 quarterback you are having right now. That can obviously change. I think the new offense is going to be huge in helping that. But my comp, and do you want me to wait, Bill, or you want me to go for it?
I'll let you rip it.
We'll see if we can go 4 for 4. That would be crazy because I did not even do a guy that was in the FBS his entire career. I have Taylor Heineke as a comp, more polished, but same energy. Heineke's only FBS season, he threw 16 interceptions, which he was a lot more careless with the ball. Obviously wasn't playing FCS competition, but he did lead Old Dominion in their first season of FBS to a 6-6 record. So that's kind of the energy I get from Taylor Heineke. Like people love him, right? People love playing for him. And he's just, he's really good at what he does. And I wouldn't say he's necessarily elite in any tier necessarily, but I think he's really, really solid quarterback.
So in my head, and again, I'm dating myself because he may have even played when I was in high school, but in my head, I had Andre Ware as I was listening to you. But I'd have to go back. I don't necessarily know Ware's height and weight, but he threw the ball all over the place. And that was in the early days of the run and shoot. So he ran, I believe, a run and shoot in college.
Yep.
And then, he didn't do too much when he went to Detroit. But Bill, what do you have?
Yeah, so Taylor hit a lot of the nails on the head there. Verified at 6'1", 205, 9 1/4 inch hands. So obviously you're going to have the hand question conversation. It comes up every year. Has a live arm, generates velocity pretty easily, can throw it into tight windows, especially in the hashes in the middle of the field as well. Natural touch thrower, just has the ability to layer passes in there. A very good toughness, doesn't shy away from hits, doesn't shy away. He's played through injuries while down there in Lubbock. But that is one of the big issues for me is his durability questions. AC sprain, shoulder injuries. There's questions. What's the shoulder going to look like? Obviously the other one is that sometimes he plays too fast. And we talked about it a little bit with Sam Leavitt, and his is controlled. Morton's is not. Morton, he gets out in front of his feet and almost trips over himself like he's trying to tie his shoelaces. But for me, I think he's a very confident passer. He knows who he is. He makes some wow throws. He lives in rhythm. If you get him going early, it's like a locomotive, right? Once you get it going early, it gets going down. So unfortunately, we didn't match up on this comp because I have a little bit of a higher play style comp for him. But it is also another Texas quarterback that may or may not be hated by some folks. It's Tony Romo light. Same thing we saw with Tony Romo, off-script magic, pocket mobility that made Romo special. Morton has that, and I think if he can stay healthy, you could be looking at a quality starter. He's not going to be a guy. He'll be a guy that gets replaced down the line like Romo did with Dak Prescott, but I think he has the ability to be a top 15, top 17 quarterback in the NFL if he can stay healthy, if he has the ability to kind of rein in some of that crazy play. But right now he's sitting firmly at the top of round 4 for me. Anthony, what do you have on Mr. Morton from Texas Tech?
Yeah, I think you guys pretty much hit it. For me, I think he has a good arm, not particularly great. I think he shows good poise in the pocket. He had a 12 to 2 touchdown to interception ratio when he was blitzed this past year. So this is a guy who, he's this coming season, he's going to surpass 1,000 passing attempts for Texas Tech. And you can see that playing experience when he's on the field. Feels very much like a guy who's seen it and been through it and, knows how to handle big situations to lead his team. I think he does a great job. It feels like the RPO is just like his bread and butter. He's great at hitting receivers in stride. He is great with throws that are based on rhythm and timing, which I think sort of kind of helps cover his not particularly great arm, but he can get the ball out quick and he can deliver it accurately. I think it's really just more of a question of, what is his ceiling? He's not that much of a rushing threat. He made a couple of nice scrambles that I saw, but this is not a guy who is going to, be that true rushing threat. I don't think at the next level. He's somebody who really gets exposed by pressure and just can't, because he lacks these, elite physical traits and lacks this athleticism. If the pocket collapses around him, he's kind of stuck. So I like him. I think he's a good player. Again, I just think it is a ceiling question. And I think Taylor, you brought up the shoulder procedure that he had in December. So now health is a question. I just can't really say he's anything more than a day 3 player at this point. We'll see what Texas Tech does. I mean, we've probably talked about it on other podcasts, but they have loaded up when it comes to their transfer portal hauls that they've had on both sides of the ball.
Oil money is big in Texas.
That oil money, man.
I was going to say, I wrote that down if you want me to go through it. I wrote down the new weapons coming.
Go for it.
It's going to be a fun one. I'm sure. Yeah, you guys talk. But Quentin Joyner comes from USC, right? So that would be a fun one. Caleb Douglas is back. They get that 5-star Micah Hudson. He comes back.
Yep.
Reggie Virgil from Miami, Ohio, had 816 yards, 9 touchdowns last year. And then the tight end, Terrence Carter from Louisiana, had 48, 689, and 4 touchdowns last year. So he's got weapons, across the board, receiver, running back, and tight end. So,
yeah. And you factor in 2 new tackles and Hunter Zambrano and Sampson as well, too.
Yeah. Yep. And like I said, I think he needs to get close to 4,000 yards to really solidify any day 2, talk.
Yeah. And I agree. And I was going to say, too, I don't know. I hate to just say, you have to make the playoff, but, you have to make the playoff. You have to make the playoff. In the Big 12, listen, the Big 12 has gotten, I think, pretty competitive these past couple of years. We already talked about Sam Leavitt at Arizona State. We obviously saw what Colorado did with Shedeur. BYU was good last year. Iowa State was good last year. The Big 12 has some good teams, some well-coached teams that have good rosters that are going to be, back and still competitive. So if Texas Tech, they spend all this money, they want to make noise, it does kind of feel like it's playoff or bust. And in order to be that, Morton kind of does need to be that leader and facilitator that I think he can be. And if he does have a big season, if he does throw 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns or some crazy stat line like that, then I think day 2 is certainly a possibility. But right now, I don't think he's quite there yet.
October 18th, Behran Morton goes to Sam Leavitt in Tempe. Mm-hmm. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, there's a few games because I think between Arizona State, Texas Tech, Baylor,
Yeah, they avoid Baylor this year.
They're playing like there's going to be some really fun quarterback matchups to discuss the weeks of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
100%.
being able to monitor the quarterbacks, fans love hearing about quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's true.
That being said, let's pause for a quick commercial. Anthony, would you like to let everybody know where all of your draft content is?
Yes, you can find it all on my X page at Anthony_Russo97, as eloquently written in that white little tab right there. Yeah, everything's there. Plan is to have the final top 100 board out. I mean, I would say like 10 days ish, like that. It's coming. It's almost done. Every day I wake up and I feel like questioning myself, and then other days I'm like, man, this is so good. I'm ready to go. So one of the days that I wake up and feel good about it, it will come out. But yeah, you can find all my stuff there, and I love the feedback and the conversations that I have with you guys and a bunch of other draft people we've met. So yeah, check it out. Check it all out there.
Bill.
Yes, you can find all of my content over on X at Sparks Scouting, also on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, also on Substack. If you search Sparks Scouting, I'll pop up there as well. Also a writer and analyst for the Right Way Sports Network, TWSN.net, where I have NFL draft, and college football content. You can also check me out here on the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft podcast. I was here last night, Thursday night, talking about Dane Brugler's Edge Board with Sam Teets and the Miami review as well. You can also check me out over with Dale and Bengals and Brews on Sunday. We're going to be chopping it up, talking about my top 10 lists. And you can also check me out on X as well. I'll be on a space tomorrow with Steve, who's in our chat, talking about all things NFL and NFL draft. So appreciate you guys watching, tuning in. It's been absolutely fun. And Taylor, let the people know where they can find your content.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, for those just tuning in, I am pretty new to this space. Like I just have my Twitter. I don't really I'm starting to get into content a little bit, so you can see it down. This way?
Oh, yeah, you got to put your head the other way.
That little white thing right there. So
yeah.
That's where you can find all my stuff on X. I'm looking to make some more content here pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, love having draft conversations on X. I think that's where Jim found me. I just respond to all the stuff and talk about the draft.
So ironically, a significant percentage of the draft professors I found the same way that I found you, Taylor. I think I found Owen on Discord. I found Josh on LinkedIn. And then I think just about everybody else I found on X Twitter. So welcome. You are bringing it. It's awesome to hear new opinions, outside opinions. That's pretty much what makes this channel hum. Is everybody kind of has their opinion. So before I go into the channel commercial, I'd like to point out Steve. Thank you for being in the chat. Ryan Sparks. Ryan will be on a podcast with us next week on Thursday covering the Baylor and TCU draft classes. So Ryan, thanks for stopping by. Andy, draft professor. You'll be able to catch Andy on Tuesday nights. I believe starting in August. And he'll be with Randall Slifer. Hank made his Draft Professor podcast debut. I think it was earlier this week, but if it was last week, it's already fuzzy. Hank, I believe, will be joining Anthony next weekend to discuss players that nobody is talking about.
Sleepers.
So I believe Hank will be on with Anthony for that one. And I saw at least one other draft professor in the chat. I thought Newt was here.
Yeah. I think he was here.
Newt Weston, he's taking the summer off from Draft Professor, but you can catch him on Owen's Weekly Huddle podcast. You can catch him on Dale's Bengals and Brews podcast. You can catch him on Heather's Ohio State podcast. And you can catch Newt on the Draft Professor podcast starting on Wednesdays in October. Okay, so that's the commercial for everybody that was in the chat. Thank you very much for being active, everybody. For the channel, you can follow it at NFL Draft Fanatic. No, I am Fanatic. What you're going to get when you follow the channel is daily draft content. We are coming at you every day, and we have some different content depending upon the day of the week. So Monday next week is Ohio State. Tuesday, Auburn. Wednesday, Colorado. Actually, Andy will be on the Colorado show on Wednesday as well, because I know you're a huge Colorado fan, Andy. And Andy, what was that quote? He's a popular draft analyst. He was quoted in an article. They said he's a popular draft analyst. So good job, Andy. And Thursday, we're doing a combined TCU Baylor show. Friday, it's players that not everybody is talking about. And I don't even know what players Anthony's bringing to the table, but I know I got a front row seat, so I'm just going to buckle up, sit down, and enjoy the show.
It's going to be the ultimate sleepers. So
yeah,
everybody's sleeping on them.
So daily draft content, and we're going to be pumping out content every day for the next 9 months leading up to the draft. And there is no way that content could be made without Bill and Anthony and the 22 draft professors that commit to showing up once a week. It's just it's amazing when you get people to do just one little thing, and then together we can accomplish more than any one individual ever could. So I am very thankful and appreciative to everybody that is making the channel function. So thank you very much. And again, Taylor, thanks for the guest appearance. I hope you will come back, because I'm having a lot of fun listening to you. I like your takes. I like the fact that your comps are the same as Bill's, and I don't know. That's weird. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's weird in a good way, but I don't know that I've ever seen that happen before.
Yeah, I thought I had some pretty good comps, and then I was like, oh, okay, Bill's got the same one, so that solidified it right there, right?
Right. So that being said, Bill, we saved the best for last.
Yes, we did. Yep. Aiden Chiles from Michigan State is 6'3", 217. And you look at his game, just natural arm talent. The ball velocity he generates is absolutely excellent. Deep ball accuracy is impressive, especially when he's able to plant his feet and drive through it. A quick release that just gets out in a hurry. Also is a redshirt sophomore, right? So everything that you're seeing him do currently, he was doing as a redshirt freshman. And the fact is, he was able to throw that ball in there. He, by all accounts, shows excellent leadership qualities in the huddle, on the field, off the field. Elusive as a runner and a scrambler. Able to extend plays very well. Has legitimate breakaway speed. My big concern for Chiles is his ball security. We're talking 11 interceptions, 6 fumbles. That is going to get you benched in a hurry. In addition to that, his completion percentage, especially in the short part of the game, especially in games where you need rhythm and anticipation in that short game, it lags behind the rest of his game. All of that being said, the same things I just said about Chiles, we also said about Jordan Love when he was at Utah State, which is my comp for Aiden Chiles. I'm high as can be on him. I have a first-round grade on Aiden Chiles. He's my 17th overall player. If you told me today that someone took him in round 1 based on the arm talent, based on the athletic ability, based on the elusive scrambling, you'd get no argument for me. If Jackson Dart can go in round 1, Aiden Chiles can find his way there. But ultimately, the big thing is he's got to tighten up that ball security. He's got to tighten up the mechanics, especially in the short game. But we're looking at a guy as a redshirt sophomore. He's got every ability to be a top 5, top 10 talent with these tools. For me, I would take him and mold him, set him for a year and mold him into a top flight guy, just like Green Bay did when they took Jordan Love while having Aaron Rodgers. I've said if he lands in Los Angeles as the heir to Matthew Stafford, that'd be an excellent landing spot for Aiden Chiles. But that ball security is going to be critical for him to take that next leap. Anthony, I'll hop down off my soapbox about the Michigan State product. What do you have on Chiles?
Yep, I brought my trusty bucket of water to pour on this whole thing. Well, look, I get it. Like I absolutely, see the vision with Aiden Chiles. And if you told me, after this year that he played his way into being a first round quarterback, I could buy it. I think he has a great arm. I think he puts really good zip on his passes. You see flashes of ability to make accurate throws with good ball placement, good anticipation. You talked about he's a very good athlete, good mobility. I think you see those moments where he checks every box and makes some throws that are legit NFL throws, and you go, oh, okay, this kid's got something. Where he just there's so much that needs to be worked on, which feels like a theme, by the way. I didn't really think about it, but I feel like we talked about it with Allar, we talked about it with Iamaleava, and now I think with Chiles is they check all of these boxes from a physical standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, from a size standpoint, from an arm standpoint, whatever. But it's the processing. It's the consistency with mechanics and accuracy. You talked about the ball security. He had 20 turnover-worthy plays this past year. 7 of those turnover-worthy plays were on short throws. That throws between 0 to 9 yards. He had 7 turnover-worthy plays, which I believe was second worst, according to PFF, the second worst of starting quarterbacks this past season. There is one interception against Ohio State where he rolls out. I wrote it down if you want to go home and go look. 3:37 left in the third quarter. He rolls out to his left and turns his body and then lofts his pass. And I assume he's going for the tight end that's running this, simple flat route or whatever. And the ball it's not even close. The ball just sails over the tight end, and Denzel Burke almost looks like a punt returner. He's just sitting there, makes the easy interception, and it's just such a horrifically bad play. And unfortunately, there are just too many just bad throws on his tape right now for me to put him in that first round conversation. You mentioned it. I had him listed as a junior. I don't know if he had it might have been a redshirt year that made him a sophomore. I don't know. But either way, I think he needs more experience just overall. I wrote down his processing is a process. And basically what I mean is just it's just not up to the level that it needs to be to play competitively against Big Ten defenses week in and week out. I absolutely agree with you. The physical tools are there. You see the flashes of Jordan Love. I absolutely could see him being like a Jordan Love. It just, he needs that at least one more year of really refining his mechanics and refining his technique and just getting more comfortable. I feel like he almost it's he's not, I don't know. He feels just a little bit of a loose cannon, trying to do, I don't know if it's trying to do too much or if it's just he's still trying to learn how to play the position, as kind of cliche as that sounds.
Yep.
It's just, there are just very simple things that he has not mastered yet that he needs to master before we can start talking about him in this, special tier of potential first round quarterbacks. But Taylor, I'll let you close it out.
Yeah, I think, you guys hit on a lot of points, but plus arm for sure. I wrote down the words laser beam on here because he has a cannon. So there's a lot to like as far as his arm talent goes, right? the thing that stood out the most to me, and this was really impressive, every time he threw a deep ball that I noticed, I watched the FAU game, and then obviously I watched his highlights and stuff like that. So when he throws it in that FAU game was not great. That was the first game of the season too. He threw 2 picks, but he has really, really good deep ball placement to the outside shoulder. Like he throws it to it is almost every single time, even if he misses, he throws it where only the receiver can get it on the outside shoulder on the sideline. Like it's over the defender. It's not like inside where it's risk of getting, intercepted. And, obviously he has some turnovers closer to the line of scrimmage, but on the deep balls, I really like the way he puts it on the outside shoulder of the receiver. I think what I noticed a ton too is he's really, really good outside the pocket, and Michigan State does they really overemphasize getting him out of the pocket. He rolls out a lot. Like they move him out of the pocket, like to the right a ton. Like a lot of the plays I watch, he's just flowing to the right pretty constantly. I did write down the ball security thing. It needs improvement too, especially when stepping up in the pocket. I think he struggles there. But like against FIU, like he has a perfect throw on a corner on a rollout. So he's rolling out, he hits the corner perfectly. Next play, interception on the goal line. So it's a bit of a roller coaster. And again, that was his first game. And he had over his last, I think he said 11 interceptions. Is that what you said? I'm pretty sure.
I think 11 interceptions. Yeah.
Over his last 7 games, he only had 3. That includes at Oregon, at Michigan, and then he had 2 picks in the home game against Indiana. But I thought he showed some real improvement after that Ohio State game, in which he did start that game 8 for 9 with a touchdown, 100 yards and touchdown. So, I think that was kind of the turning point in Aiden Chiles, and I think that's kind of where he has to go. Like that Ohio State game, I know there was, Anthony mentioned the bad throw, and there were a couple bad throws in there, but he did a lot of good in that Ohio State game that then sparked that 7-game stretch of only having 3 interceptions. So I thought that was a big game for him. I think he has good loft on his deep throws, good pocket awareness, and I think he has elite agility. I wish he ran the ball more. I want him to run the ball a lot more. I think Michigan State would be better for it. I think Aiden Chiles would be better for it. His draft stock would be better for it. Yeah, he just doesn't run the ball very much, and it's not a lot of design runs, which is. My comp had a lot of design runs in his game. So it's that part of the comp is what I kind of wish Aiden Chiles would be. And then the last big knock on me, two big things. One thing here is he took 30 sacks last year. Yeah. And I know he's in the Big Ten. I know Michigan State's probably not top tier top tier Big Ten offensive line. But still, I think, taking 30 sacks is a lot. I mean, you saw it in Denver with John Payton booting Russell Wilson out of here, right? He took too many sacks. That's just a fact. So for what you can see of his potential, I totally get the first round grade. Bill, I think I have him as a day 2 guy right now. And I think 2 years, I think, I don't know if he'll come out this year. I don't know that he should. I think if he stays 2 more years, it's kind of that's what a lot of these guys are. It's like the theme with these 5 guys is if they improve in XYZ, they could be legit top 100 picks in the NFL draft, all 5 of these guys. Yeah. So my comp here, and this is kind of a lofty comp, but similar numbers to sophomore year Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott ran the ball a lot more, but I think, I like the Jordan Love comp because it's kind of similar, right, to Dak a little bit. I think Aiden Chiles is closer to Dak's athleticism in college than Jordan Love's, which is kind of why I have that comp. And then again, sophomore seasons, 27 yards for Dak, 2,600 for Chiles. Now, Dak did have 15 rushing touchdowns. I think Aiden Chiles only had 3, if I'm not mistaken, but 13 to 10 passing touchdowns. Completion percentage, touchdown percentage, yards per attempt, and rating were all within either 0.5% or 1 totals. They almost had identical stat lines in terms of passing. And then you saw Dak take that huge next step in his junior year. So if Chiles takes that similar step, I don't see why the first round is out of reach. I really don't. I think he has so much potential and his arm strength is so good. I think this is my favorite guy to watch, honestly, out of these 5 guys. He was just so unexpected. I didn't really think about Aiden Chiles. I knew who he was. I knew he was a pretty decent quarterback, but he has I wrote this down because I think it's a huge opportunity and it will really make or break not only this season, but his career. I think not just in college, but as an NFL prospect, their schedule is brutal. They have at USC, at Nebraska, at Indiana, at Minnesota, which is not an easy place to play. And then they have home games against Michigan, Penn State, and Iowa. So like
Yeah.
I know the Big Ten is a gauntlet, but like I mean they don't have to play Ohio State, but they still have a brutal schedule. A lot of tough road games, a lot of tough road environments. So I think if he can, if he can take that next step and increase, I think I wrote down here for if he takes a similar step to Dak for for everyone watching, just to look, what to look out for this season. Completion percentage for Dak went up 3% year over year. Like I said, they're identical almost in completion percentage. So you want that completion percentage over 60, 62, 63%. He's at 59 right now. 3,000 yards passing, 20 to 25 touchdowns would be an ideal. Yards per attempt went up for Dak by about 1.5 yards. The rating went from 126 for Dak to in between 140 and 150, which is where I'd like to see Aiden Chiles get. And then interception percentage needs to come down about 3% to kind of be in that same range. And then touchdown percentage would need to go up, obviously, to 5 or 6%. I think he's at 4 right now. But that's why I kind of have him as my comp for Dak. I think Dak was a good quarterback in the SEC, and he had, that's 2 years in the SEC system, right? Mississippi State. Yeah. Played 2 years, and then he has the potential. Like Dak's really jumped off the page like junior and senior year. So if Aiden Chiles can do that, I mean, we talked about Dak as third round pick, right? Like he wasn't even projected to go, but now he's a starting quarterback for 10 years, right? So I think people will see 100%. That and be like, okay, I can kind of see this comparison. And Aiden Chiles, man, he was really fun to watch. I like his arm strength a lot.
Love it. Okay. Well, Jim, we're going to turn it back over to you.
All the way around on Chiles, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So just to give the audience, like if this is the first time that you have caught Draft Professor, we have broken down 25 quarterbacks now, but we're not done. We still have 5 quarterbacks that we think are better than the ones that we are covering today. Just to give you an idea as to the caliber of quarterbacks coming out of the next 2 draft classes. So Chiles has this year and another year of eligibility, correct?
Correct.
And then Nico has 2 more this year and 1 more year of eligibility after this, correct?
Correct.
Morton, is this it?
This is it. He's a 5th year.
This is it. Yep.
Leavitt has this year and another year of eligibility, correct?
Correct.
And then Allar, this is it, correct?
This is it. He's done.
This is it.
Okay. August 1st, Durst will be back. Sam Teets will be joining us with Bill and Anthony. And we are going to go through these 5 quarterbacks. Lenoris Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, Josh Hoover from TCU, and Arch Manning. So we're not done covering quarterbacks, everybody. We've covered 25, but we're not done. And this will not be the last time you hear about these quarterbacks. So once the college football season starts, we will likely be, for example, previewing Michigan State just about every week. We will be previewing Arizona State just about every week. Penn State as well. UCLA, Michigan State, Baylor, and probably Louisville will be featured quite a bit on our week-over-week game previews, just so you can hear different people's opinions on the quarterbacks. Like I said, there's 22 podcasters that show up every day at the Draft Professor, or I should say show up every week at the Draft Professor. So we're going to try to make sure that each of them has a chance to cover most of the quarterbacks at least once, kind of thing. So if you enjoy this content, and there are a lot of you watching, this is by far our best Friday show of the draft season. Go to YouTube, please and thank you. Hit that subscribe. Drop a comment in the YouTube. That is a great way to say thank you if you enjoy the content. You could also catch the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast on Spotify. So if you prefer to listen to us because you don't want to see all of that heavy metal music behind me, you can just listen and you don't have to look at what's behind me, right? And if that Browns orange behind Bill offends you, I understand. You can just listen to us on Spotify.
100%. 100%. If you don't want to see my ugly mug, that's fine. Go listen on Spotify. Drop a comment down there in Spotify too. We'd appreciate it there as well.
The saying is always, "I have a face for radio," but I guess now it's, "I have a face for podcasts." That's the
Yeah, I don't even have a voice for radio. I don't have a face for TV. I don't have a voice for radio. I just show up. It doesn't matter.
There you go.
I don't even have a radio that works,
What?
so that's where I'm at.
I got a story about one of my good buddies he was a radio guy. He did Kent State, play-by-play and stuff like that. He's at Northwestern now. He is from West Virginia, and growing up, they were told, like, if you want a radio voice, like, they would smoke cigarettes to deepen their voice. Like, this is like a pretty common radio thing from what he was telling me. So I thought that was just an interesting point. So, I guess it's not too late.
Yeah, but Steve, I do have to give you props because 404 right there, that's like one of the 5 best albums ever made. So I'm with you.
Go.
I am with, like, if you drop a music reference in the chat, you're probably going to get 5 seconds of fame. So cool. So we have been going for 90 minutes. It has been an incredibly good chat. So 100%. Everybody that contributed, an active chat really helps the YouTube algorithm. So the chat, you guys brought it today. You guys made a huge difference. So thank you to everybody in the chat, for all the draft professors, for Bill, Anthony, special guest Taylor, myself, for the 80 plus podcasters at Draft Professor. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you on a podcast again on Sunday to do the top 20 running backs with Brian Maffey. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.